Welcome to another exciting episode of
Extreme TTRPG News.
Now let's go to our reporter live in the field for this story about Dungeons & Dragons Honor Amongst Thieves premiere at Alamo Drafthouse in Austin, Texas.
I don't know, it's all kind of sad, isn't it? Last night, old Mrs. Queen Waspinator was reading an article about how the Alamo Drafthouse in Austin is going to be hiring some dungeon masters to run D&D games for people when they're coming out of the movie, when it opens this weekend. And at first, when I was first hearing this for a moment, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I remembered, oh, how sad. How sad that they've spoiled this. How sad that they've spoiled what sounds like might actually be a half-assed decent D&D movie. I mean, the bar is so low on what a good D&D movie is that half-assed decent is great and would have been hailed as a wonderful accomplishment just barely 3 or 4 months ago. But unfortunately, January happened in the community, and instead it just seems sad. You know, when I open up Amazon and their recommendations are still trying to pimp D&D stuff at me or show me like, hey, look, they got all these action figures and stuff. Wow, you know, Hasbro, a toy company, has owned this for, 15 going on 20 years? And they're just now getting around to putting out toys? Like actual real toys and not just licensing the rights to make miniatures to stuff? Wow, it's so little, so late. It's all too little, too late. What a goddamn shame that all this had to have been spoiled by their just stubborn-minded greed and lack of foresight when it came to being able to read the room. And there's a part of me that acknowledges that, like, oh yeah, this would have been cool. 6 months ago, I would have thought a lot of this was great news. But we don't live in that world anymore now, do we? Or do we? I don't know. It's hard for a community that's this sociable to maintain this kind of vehemence and anger for too long. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's happened as a byproduct of all these changes to the game, I don't think a large amount of the community is really aware of where they're now been aligned on the great spectrum of things, whether they realize it or not. Because certain declarations have just now been adopted as absolute fact. It's an absolute fact that Tolkien was racist because of how he depicted orcs and stuff like that. There's no questioning it just makes you a right-wing weirdo. And I don't. There's a lot of little things like that around D&D that I don't think the community is really cognizant of or is able to see. It somehow exists in a blind spot for all these people who've been very earnestly trying to do the right thing and say the right things and be accepting for decades on end. They're not able to comprehend that the rug is just continuously nibbled out from underneath them. And the very same factors that create that blind spot also make it just too easy for the wound to smooth over and people to just kind of go back to the way things were. You've built your D&D channel on doing D&D content, and it was cute for a few minutes, but no one really wants to see this OSR shit or Pathfinder shit. So eventually everyone's going to have to creep back to that brand that is their bread and butter. So I guess here we are. It's sad. Had they not made that massive blunder in late December, early January of last year, it wouldn't have to be something that one views with a note of melancholy. Anyway, though, I guess back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks for that, I guess. At least you kind of took your submission for the show a little bit more seriously this time, but geez, what a bummer. I guess I would add, from a point of view of pretty much any RPG game creator, the success of this movie was actually a big deal. Seeing that Hollywood is starting to accept the narrative that comic book movie fatigue is a thing, they're going to be looking for something else to start basing their brands around, and this could be a great opportunity for a lot of us who've made little unknown role-playing games that people might suddenly be looking around for things to buy up to make movies or TV shows out of. If D&D hits, that could provide a lot of headwind for a lot of other people. And unfortunately, all this controversy they created for themselves threatens that somewhat, and also puts some of us in some odd, kind of awkward situations where it's kind of unclear exactly who or what we should be rooting for. But anyway, I guess on a happier note, we here at Total Party Extreme Action TTRPG News have gotten a new weather lady. So we're going to kick it down to her and see what things are going on in those great American skies.
Wait, why am I out here?
Oh, I just need you to tell the audience what the weather's like. Oh shit, I forgot to give you the hat. Hang on. Here.
I don't know. The weather's all right, I guess.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in for
Extreme Total Party Weather.
And now I guess on to our final note of our episode. I want to talk a little bit about the Total Party System Rules Handbook and how it allows a lot of my source books to suddenly be standalone products instead of source books to one of the other games. The way they're written, they include a lot of character information and setting background, enough so that a creative game master can spool out an entire campaign just off that one source book alone, thanks to the fact that you have the universalized setting agnostic rule system to go with it if you don't want to also have to invest in having a copy of Escape from Planet Matriarchy or Pax Luporum. I bring this up because I'm in the midst of writing a setting source book that's supposed to be entirely standalone, so you can use it with the Total Party System Rules Handbook, or optionally with Pax Luporum, since it's set in the same time period, just not on the same planet. So anyway, some of the source books I'm talking about, in specific, that could make interesting standalone products using the Systems Handbook are
Stewards and Obstacles, the only adventure that lets your players enter the virtual torture tomb to reach full monetization and fight hateful content. We Want Soviet Men lets you join a crew of cosmonaut comrades aboard a Soviet starship in the 25th century. The Young and the Restless Dead describes a hidden conflict between supernatural forces over control of Hollywood in 1972. Science of the Sphinx allows for epic campaigns that cross the dimensions of space and time. Ancient Egypt Conquers Mars details the final days before the Martian cataclysm at the end of the Bronze Age. Adventures on Lesvos describes an Olympian starport hidden in one of classical Greece's most famous isles. Secrets of the Lesbian Illuminati allows you to experience the mysteries of being a lesbian witch in college and their eternal struggle against satanic frat boys.
And so there you go, another episode of Extreme TTRPG News from your pals here at Total Party Skills. Until next time, be sure to hit like and subscribe, ring the bell, follow links below to various products to be found on Amazon or DriveThruRPG, and as always,
Y'all stay waspinated now, you hear?